Next up on my Steam library, I'm playing Overfall. Overfall is a strategy RPG. It's got turn-based combat and some rogue-lite elements. You start off playing two characters. At the beginning, you're given access to the fighter and the cleric class, and there are more to unlock, but they're the two you get at the beginning. And you sail around in your ship in a world that's basically one big ocean populated by lots of little islands and lots of other ships as well. And you basically land at these little islands and a sort of random encounter ensues. And this encounter, it could end up with some combat, or you could get through it with some dialogue options, or it could lead to a longer sort of quest. But at the end of it, if you survive, you'll be rewarded with some of the game's currencies and items. The idea is that you've got to increase your rep with a couple of the factions that are available in the world. I think there's like 6 or 8 in total, but you have to get to these 2 beacons. You're being chased by an enemy force, an invading force, that's also looking for these beacons, and you've got to unlock these beacons and then get to a place called the Citadel to deliver an artifact. That's like the overall objective of the game. But being a roguelite game, it's got permanent death, it's got procedurally generated encounters and a procedurally generated sort of world, and it's also got some progression that you carry on after each death onto your next run. So as you sail around, you dock at these little islands, have your little random encounters, gain your currencies, increase your rep with whatever factions you're trying to increase your rep with, and you can then use the currencies to upgrade your skills, upgrade your weapons, and buy things that you might need, like for instance food is one of the things you're going to need. After each battle you don't revert to full health automatically. You come out of the battle at whatever health you are at, and you have to eat your food to increase your health again, or rest at an inn. Rest at an inn costs money. So food is a resource. There's another resource called frags, which is basically the gold of this world. It's like the money currency. And there's a resource called dust, which is what you use to buy or upgrade new skills for your class. And there are runes as well, and runes are by far the scarcest, and they're used primarily to resurrect a character. And if one of your characters dies, you continue playing with your remaining character, and if you find an island with an altar on it, you can use a rune to resurrect your fallen comrade. If the one character you continue playing with dies, that's it for that run. You start again at the beginning, but whatever you've unlocked, whatever like upgrades you bought and things like that, they will continue on to your next run, or be available to be selected from your next run. So at the beginning you only start with the fighter and the cleric, but there are lots of other classes to unlock. So far I've only unlocked the wizard and the monk, so in the beginning of each game now I get to choose between those 4, and there are various different skills for each of those classes as well. Like at the beginning you're only given access to like a group of 3, but there are lots of other skills for each of those classes to unlock as well, and if you unlock them during a run, they'll be available again to select in all of your future runs. So the combat is turn-based. When you start a combat, it's much like most other turn-based combat systems in RPGs you'd have seen. You get an initiative order, shows you the order that each character is going to take his actions, and then during your action you can do certain things. This game splits it up into 3 phases. You get a movement phase, then you get what they call a utility phase, where you can use one of your 3 utility skills, and then you get your attack phase, weapon phase, where you can use one of your 3 weapon skills. It's quite a deep and tactical combat system. There are lots of different types of attacks and defenses. There are lots of different buffs and debuffs. So it's a fair bit to think about each time you have to take an action. You know, you might want to remove some bad debuffs off one of your characters, or dispel some buffs off an enemy, or perhaps put out a heal, or you might need to move, or you might just want to attack and do some damage. There's a fair bit to think about, and getting it wrong can be very costly. You can die very easily from making bad decisions. So there's quite a learning curve, and the more combat you get into and the more you learn each class and their synergies, the more you'll get the hang of it. But to begin with, you'll probably find that you're getting killed quite a lot because you just haven't quite got the hang of it yet. But there's no problem with that, because getting killed is all part of any roguelite game. Getting killed and starting again is the whole kind of point. You progress through and do your next run, and hopefully you'll have unlocked some things that make your next run a bit easier, or you'll have at least learnt something yourself about how the game works to make your next run a bit easier. It's got quite a lot of content to it. There's a good bit of humour as well in the encounters. Like I say, not all of them are combat encounters. Quite a few of them are just some dialogue choices, and some of those bits of dialogue are quite funny. There's a particularly funny reference to the orcs in Warcraft, and especially like the original Warcrafts 1 and 2, the RTSs, when you land on an island with this orc, and that made me chuckle. There's quite a lot of content, and I'm saying, because the encounters and the islands are all sort of randomly generated, then it's kind of different but the same every time. You know, you will start getting the same encounters eventually, because obviously there's not an infinite number of them, but you probably see quite a lot before you do start seeing the same ones. So I've played about 6.5 hours of it, and you know, that's nothing really. I've only unlocked like 2 extra classes, the wizard and the monk. Still loads more to unlock. There's companions as well. I forgot to mention, companions are people you can pick up on other ships and islands that will come along with you. There's many different classes of companions to unlock as well, and that's also another part of the adventure, is to find companions. Its asking price is $10.99, which I think for the amount of content it's got is perfectly fine. I mean, if you like this kind of game, if you like a sort of roguelite turn-based strategy RPG, then $10.99 for this amount of content is absolutely fine. If you don't like this kind of game, then probably not. If you're not sure, then wait until you see it on a sale. If you see it on a sale for 50% off, take a chance. You might find this is one for you. But I'd recommend it if you like this kind of game at $10.99 for sure, and if you're not sure, then wait till you see it in a sale. So that's Overfall, a decent, lots of content, strategy RPG with roguelite and turn-based combat.